There are about 47 reasons to like movies, one of which certainly being looking up fun facts about the production after you've seen the film. There's nothing better than watching the film Lord of the Rings with someone and telling them, did you know that when Viggo Mortensen kicks that helmet that he breaks his toe for real in that scene? And they say, yeah, you've actually not stopped talking about it. And I'm like, really? And they say, yeah, it's getting pretty annoying actually. And I say, oh, I'm sorry. And they say, no, it's fine. And then I say, nothing. I just watched the film silent. I just finished the film silently. Anyway, I found some fun facts about Gladiator that I thought would be interesting to share. I got them from the website All the Right Movies, which I'll share in the description below. Midway through production, Ridley Scott was looking at the dailies and noticed Joaquin Phoenix was noticeably chunkier. He spoke to Phoenix about it, and Phoenix said, yes, I'm a fat little hamster. Why wouldn't I be? I'm the Emperor of Rome. Scott told him to lose the weight immediately, which he did. Something we see all the way through the film is the famous thumbs up or thumbs down that the Emperor gives when he's deciding whether a gladiator should live or die. In reality, it was actually the other way around. Thumbs up meant death, and thumbs down meant mercy. This was because thumbs down represented the sheathing of a sword. The crew was aware of this while making the movie, but since thumbs up is considered to be a good sign nowadays, they decided not to confuse the audience. A key supporting character in the movie is Proximo, a slave trader and former gladiator who becomes a mentor of sorts to Maximus. He was played by Oliver Reed, who, as a notorious hellraiser, caused some issues on set. He said he took the role because he fancied a trip to London to see a couple of shows. Omid Jalili played a slave trader and shared a scene with Reed. In his scene, Proximo grabs Jalili's character by the crotch. This wasn't part of the script. Reed improvised it. And Jalili said, the film got an Oscar. Russell Crowe got an Oscar. Ollie got a posthumous Oscar. I got a partial erection. Oliver Reed famously passed away during filming, 3 weeks before the production ended. He died in a pub during a break-in shooting after drinking 8 pints of German lager, a dozen shots of rum, half a bottle of whiskey, a few shots of cognac, and after beating 5 Royal Navy sailors at arm wrestling. A clause in the movie's insurance contract would have let Ridley Scott reshoot all of Reed's scenes, but most of the actors and crew were exhausted, and Scott didn't want to cut Reed from the movie. So William Nicholson was flown back in to do rewrites, and a body double and CGI were used to give Reed's character a different ending. I hope you had fun with these facts, but for now it's time for the drink I'm drinking so that I can talk in front of a camera. The drink this week is Michelob Ultra. It is a nice light beer, very special. They say that Miller High Life is the champagne of beers. What I would like to contend is that Michelob Ultra might be the Prosecco of beers. I don't know if they had Prosecco back in the ancient Rome times, but neither do you, for sure. They could have had Prosecco. And if you think that's wrong, then what are you, some sort of Prosecco all-knowledge holder? I don't think so. I don't think you know very much about Prosecco at all, if you really think about it. So, Prosecco was in ancient Rome, and so by proxy, Michelob Ultra was as well. So, that's Michelob Ultra. Cheers. The water of life. Sustenance, if you will. Maximus is a powerful Roman general, loved by the people and the aging emperor Marcus Aurelius. Before his death, the emperor chooses Maximus to be his heir over his own son, Commodus, and a power struggle leaves Maximus and his family condemned to death. The powerful general is unable to save his family, and his loss of will allows him to get captured and put in the gladiator games until he dies. The only desire that fuels him now is the chance to rise to the top so that he will be able to look into the eyes of the man who will feel his revenge. I first watched this movie when I was about 15 or 16 years old. I was on a Russell Crowe kick, and of course, what 15-year-old white boy wouldn't want to watch a movie about gladiators? I came out of it wanting a little more, though, the drama of it all falling a little flat at the time. Something about the nostalgia of that time in cinema compared to now made me reconsider my opinion this time around. I feel like with the exception of a few tenured filmmakers, there are no more examples of the big budget dramatic epic. To be fair, nobody goes out to see them, but also to be fair, Oppenheimer, and also to be fair, most of these films nowadays don't use practical effects so they look like junk. Don't get me wrong, Gladiator used its fair share of bad CGI, but it was still back in the time where they had to use practical effects in order to survive. Everybody knows this now. Practicality sells the drama. It's not a luxury, it's a necessity. In the last 5 years, the industry has lost a love of even pushing the boundaries of digital effects anyway, so every film that's made is just good enough to make a little money. Now, Gladiator certainly has a few problems, but I would say overall it's a riveting and focused picture. Russell Crowe was absolutely stunning here, his biggest quality being the gentle intensity that he brings to all of his roles. He was able to display the anger, the existentialism, the love, and the violence that fought and battled inside Maximus, creating a beautiful and delicate balance that kept the film so steady the whole time. I mean, if you haven't seen this film, I'll risk the copyright to put in the best clip.
How dare you show your back to me? Slave! You will remove your helmet and tell me your name.
My name is Maximus Decimus Meridius, commander of the armies of the North, general of the Felix Legions, loyal servant to the true emperor Marcus Aurelius, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, and I will have my vengeance in this life or the next.
Russell Crowe in his prime was a different animal, man. He actually hated that line and refused to say it at first. In the end, he conceded, telling the screenwriter, "Your lines are garbage, but I'm the greatest actor in the world, and I can make even garbage sound good." And I guess he did. The other great performance of the film comes from then up-and-comer Joaquin Phoenix, who brought a Freudian nightmare to life in a squirmy way that only he possibly could. Commodus is typically considered to be one of the most hated villains of all time, and for good reason. He's whiny, he's conceited, he has no concept of how terrible he is, and he never has to learn from it. This is definitely considered to be one of Joaquin Phoenix's best performances, but I think when you look at the history of his filmography, it actually comes out to be one of the most shallow to me. Now, it's better than most actors could ever do, but it still feels like a performance with powerful emotion, but lacking a little in complexity. And I'd say that's a revolving theme with this film. It's emotionally raw with quite a simple story. Djimon Hounsou did a great job performing in this movie, but what was his character really? He's mostly just the relegated black friend that we've seen so many times in films of this era. Oliver Reed was pretty good as the mentor figure, but it's not like his role was anything special. I thought Connie Nielsen was certainly decent as Commodus' sister, but let's be honest, her role was pretty archetypal as well. The only character that I felt was given any sort of gravitas or depth other than the main two was Marcus Aurelius, even if his stature wasn't exactly historically accurate. I think this lack of development is the reason why this film isn't talked about quite as much nowadays, especially as much as it was hailed in its debut. It's an absolute rush to go through it. It's a purely experiential view, but I think it's accurately remembered as an emotional powerhouse that lacks staying power. Was the ride exciting though? I think it's one of the best. Hans Zimmer nailed the shit out of this music here. I mean, I'd have to give him about 25% of the credit of the quality of this film. It was bombastic in all the right ways. It felt like it even elevated the set design. It felt grander than what was actually being shown on screen. The color grading was good, if not a little over the top. Sometimes when films lean into that tinted yellow, I want the scenery to speak for itself. David Lean never used color grading in his films, although I could compare any film to his and that's just a mute process. Still though, if you're going to make a historical epic, why not look at the best and see what they're doing? So I was thoroughly impressed with the exciting ride that was this movie. It's an epic adventure that made me nostalgic for certain elements of the film that I wish would come back. It's a tour de force performance from the great Russell Crowe, and its signature conflict is incredibly well done. I think I'll give this film a Lionturtle. And you know what would be such a cool Gladiator move would be if you subscribed to my channel, because there's lots of Gladiator shit that happens here. You don't know, really. I mean, I could turn into a cat at any second, and you would be like, what? That's crazy. That's Gladiator shit to me, is turning into a cat. Which will not happen, by the way. I will not turn into a cat. I will never turn into a cat.